And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho, and we're going to shorten things up a little bit today. We've got a coronal mass ejection incoming. We've got low solar activity. We've got images of the sun, some filaments in the northwestern limb, as well as really all around the rim. So still a bunch of filaments here on the sun, and the possibility of more coronal mass ejections incoming is still there. So don't be surprised to see more, as we don't need sunspots or solar flares for such things to happen. So let's go out to Lagrange point 5 once again to stereo A and see what the view looks like from there. Now we showed this yesterday. We see coronal mass ejections happening here, and the Earth-facing region is indeed out in this direction. So you can see some of those are indeed somewhat Earth-facing, maybe not direct ultra-dense strikes or anything like that imminent, but there still is possibility for more of this material to be ejected, as there still is quite a lot of it. And so that's the view from stereo A, which is again at Lagrange point 5. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux, the coronal radio output of the outer region of the corona is down to 80, so weak solar activity in terms of things like sunspots and radio flux, and still coronal mass ejections. So there's the graph for the radio flux and the sunspot number progression. And we are streaming live. Let me just check the life of the stream here. Looks like we are good to go. Here's another 48-hour video here of the local yellow dwarf. This is 171 angstroms. And you can actually see the moment where the coronal mass ejection happened here. Oh, we're looking at old data once again. All right, let's look at some current data here. Here's our only HelioViewer movie from the day. We've made a composite, which includes 304 angstroms as well as 171. So we'll be keeping an eye out for more coronal mass ejections today, folks. It's something to keep an eye on. And when I say eye on, well, the pun is intentional. Let me show you what was going on yesterday, as we've included yesterday's videos from HelioViewer in today. And we are expecting the coronal mass ejection to strike on January 6th. So in about 2 days, we're expecting some geo-effective plasma to strike. And here's the coronal mass ejection that we're talking about. Great view of that in 304 angstroms, as well as the LASCO C2 and the C3, which is the blue on the edge of the screen there. Great composite imagery. Here's a close-up. And if you want to see more information about yesterday's coronal mass ejection, watch yesterday's daily space weather video. And we've moved into the Smash Lights segment, where I invite you to follow us on Twitter, where we've been a little bit critical of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Do you want to be De Niro or Pacino? Or would you prefer Mussolini? If stupidity were wealth, Cuomo would be a rich, rich man indeed. Now, we are streaming live to Twitch, thanks to our new follower over on Twitch, twitch.tv/smashomash. If you want to see the content as we stream live, we don't always stream live there. We do YouTube exclusives as well. Thanks to our YouTube subscribers. Please take a moment to press like and subscribe. Check out our playlists. Please press share and press the notification bell, as you may even see the videos when they come out. Look for a 300 subscriber special coming soon to BitChute. All you BitChute users, that's today's Smash Light segment. Let's go into cosmology. First, let's thank our patrons. This is still an old list here, by the way, and we'll be updating this soon. Thanks to our patrons. Consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/smashomash. And our patrons would have already been informed of the incoming coronal mass ejection. It's one of the many benefits that they get. Sorry about yesterday, we didn't get around to making our coronal holes video. We will be making a video about coronal holes, as it gives us important insight into solar cycles. Some of them even last as long as 2 years, so look for information about that coming out soon on the channel. And let's look at a random object. Today's random object is number 853 on the Neil Gorell Swift Bat X-ray Observatory. So 853 would be HT 1900.1-2455, a low mass X-ray binary / millisecond pulsar. So this is an interesting variable object here. Look at the variable X-ray output. You see this weird ramp down happening here around 2014. So that low mass X-ray binary, there are the X-ray transients from that. And let's see if we can get a visual. As here at the Smash News Network, we prefer to provide as much information as possible. And we're not seeing that one on Simbad. We're going to type in a shorter name for it, and it's not showing up there. Let's head to Aladdin, see if we can find it there, and again show you a visual. And just give me a moment. Again, we are streaming live. And we'll do a query here over on Aladdin Light. And I'm not getting anything for number 853. Let me get back to that. Just one moment. 853, 853. Now, a low mass X-ray binary is a typically something with a white dwarf. All right, HG 1900. And I'm just not finding that one. But anyway, 853. Perhaps our viewers would like to do some additional research on that one. It's, again, it's HT 1900 1-2455. Let's see if anything shows up in a DuckDuckGo search. And indeed, it's part of a gamma ray bursting scenario as well. Apparently showing up in gamma ray frequency. That's today's pretty elusive cosmology segment. Let's get back to data. And we are attempting to shorten today's daily space weather video a little bit. So we see some shifts happening here recently in the BTBZ and the phi angle in the past few hours. Current solar wind density has recently dropped off from its highs around 12 protons per cubic centimeter, now down to more like 3. So back to background levels and still low levels of solar wind velocity, only a little over 300 kilometers a second, although we do see a slow ramp up here in the temperature, and it's pretty slight. Here's the weak solar activity shown in geospace. Here's a measurement of global geomagnetism. It's the KP index, which has been only at 0 or 1 for the past 3 days. Here's the weak magnetosphere. And I think we've captured the decrease in solar wind density here. So here you're at about 12 protons per cubic centimeter, and now you're dropping down to more like 4. So a reduction of about 60% there of the coronal hole, the solar wind density, I should say. And here's the pressure. And you should see that weaken at the end also. You can see a little bit of pressure in the bow shock region, which would be to your left. And you'll probably see that drop down toward the end of the magnetosphere movie, which we'll fast forward to right there. No real surprise there. Again, with such a slow and diffuse solar wind. Here are magnetic perturbations on the ground level, since we're living through a geomagnetic excursion. We show this one daily. This is changes in the Earth's B field. Hence, it says delta B, geospace delta B, changes in Earth's B field. Nothing too crazy to report on there. Next, the GOES proton flux. We don't see any big proton strikes here. Again, we are expecting the coronal mass ejection to arrive around the 6th. And we don't see any solar flares either, as we're back to 0 sunspots and a weak level of radio flux. There's the ghost magnetometer over the past 3 days, pretty spiky. We see pretty low lows and pretty low highs there. And here's the visualization of the current sheet. And as we forecasted yesterday, the Earth is remaining in the South Pole oriented current sheet shown in red, although we may snap across into a North Pole current sheet soon. Not exactly sure on that one. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video. We'll let you know what's happened. Here's the coronal hole line of sight field plot. You can see a large coronal hole there just rotating out of the Earth-facing view there, the South Pole-oriented one across the equator. It's a trans-equatorial coronal hole. And here's another image of the same data, basically, which also shows you the sun's B field in blue and the poloidal fields, as well as a solar magnetogram. Again, no sunspots. Coronal holes are the main feature on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. And here's a magnetogram of just the solar corona, the sun's atmosphere, a very chaotic place. And you can see a bunch of equatorial coronal hole potential field surface source lines there shown in purple. Here's a star chart. I've got the ecliptic as well as the galactic plane drawn in there, which is in blue, ecliptic in yellow. And the moon currently passing through Leo. I don't know if you care. I certainly find it fairly irrelevant. Next looking at the solar system. And there's where we expect things to be in 7 days. And we show that diagram daily. It's theplanetstoday.com. You can also put up a geocentric view and so on, a scale view. It's good times. Next we'll talk electrons. We don't see even many electrons. We see quite low levels of electron flux. There's the 1-year chart of it. And that's from solon.info. And there you can see a flatlining of the electron flux over the past 3 days. The yellow diamonds here are the actual observation, and the green boxes are the forecast. I don't know why they're forecasting such a dip there in the electron flux, unless the forecast is for a coronal hole wind stream. Again, the coronal mass ejection is expected to strike on the 6th, so in 2 days. That could cause a little depletion of the electron flux as well. And here you see the 3-day chart. Pretty low levels of electron flux here over the past 6 hours. Here's a visualization, which we show daily. It'll show you where GPS errors are. It's the whole air column. So all the way from your GPS handset up to a GPS satellite, through a full inner Van Allen belt. And here's a diagram of that in miles. Feel free to pause. When you unpause, don't worry, we'll be here. And there is another diagram. Keep in mind this one's in kilometers, showing you things like electromagnetic radiation into the atmosphere and so on. And that red F over on the right, that's the F ionosphere layer where the GOES-16 makes its measurements. Here's a visualization of the ionosphere. It's our Ionosphere Map, and we see significant anomalies here in the southern hemisphere once again, as summer in Antarctica is featuring ionospheric anomalies overhead. You can see those charged up areas there even in the middle of the night. Not a normal state of affairs for that. And we view the data daily, which gives me enough leeway to say so. There's the current image at 9 o'clock Universal Time. Let's see which volcanoes are erupting. Looks like Kluchavskoye is, as well as Sakurajima, Sumonosejima, Sinabung, Popocatépetl, Sangay, Ravenador, and Sabancaya. All producing ash plumes between 23,000 and 6,000, 5,000 feet. Please don't pole vault any of the calderas. We need the views on YouTube. and we don't lie to you in order to obtain them. The largest earthquake of the past 24 was a 6.1 magnitude out here in the Aleutian Islands. That's the location of that quake. Let's get back to the list and show you the full 24. So we see some deep quakes, at least, such as that 4.4 at Fiji. I think we actually covered that one yesterday, as we did the video much later. And I'm just going to scroll up the list here. Again, largest quake of the past 24 was a 6.1 magnitude in the deep Aleutian Islands, as a massive low pressure system occurs in the Bering Sea. Next, nullschool.net, we're looking at the jet streams. There are the jet streams of the eastern world, and I would note the jet stream is blowing backwards over the western Pacific and indeed the Indian Ocean. East to west is not normal jet stream motion. We've got a broken up jet stream there over the south. Here are the jets of the western world. And here's me whoosh, vanishing. And the western world's jet streams are all over the place. We see extreme meridional bends. We see the jet stream splitting up right here. And we see 180-degree bends here over the North Atlantic. It's extreme jet stream flow. Let's see what's going on with lightning. Not a lot of lightning right now in the Caribbean and eastern U.S. Here's lightningmaps.org, which shows you a global real-time lightning map. And we see some there in the central Mediterranean, as well as off the coast of California. Here's a U.S. Doppler Radar Map. And looks like some serious ice storms there over places like eastern South Dakota and northwestern Minnesota, as well as continuing snow showers across Pennsylvania, some heavy rains in Washington. Here's windy.com's pressure map, and you can see those low pressure systems there right around where that earthquake happened, actually. So you can see the strongest low pressure system there is very close to the location of that earthquake. Also, two more low pressure systems in the northern Pacific, as well as a very high pressure system there over southern Asia. Looks like pressure is all the way up to 31.22 hectopascals. And we'll just advance this into tomorrow. There's where we're expecting things to be at 12 o'clock tomorrow. A consolidation of those lows south of Alaska. And here at the Smash News Network, we prefer to provide accurate and useful information. So here is information about cloud cover over the U.S. There's the current state of affairs. We've got a long chain of clouds all the way from Minnesota down to Texas. And there is a low pressure system trailing that. Here is the water vapor map. So we've got a low pressure there over the Rockies right now. And it will intensify going into tomorrow. There's the cloud layer once again. And there's the water vapor cloud layer and water vapor. And we would remind you to stay tuned as we've got bonus features. A normal thing here at the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. We're going to show you the colorized magnetogram to show you zero sunspots. Here's the intensitygram. Also zero sunspots. Don't let dirt on your monitor confuse you as it did me. And last but not least, we're going to show you the helioviewer movies once again that depict the coronal mass ejection that is on the way. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Share the content with your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros. And since it'll never be now again, May that coronal mass ejection be at your back, and that covidiously absent from your doorstep.